Welcome to the Big Kickoff Sports Bar. Myself, Roy Shanahan, Mr. Neil Dobbs, and Dave of Bugle. And we're going to have a look at the Ireland-Portugal game, which just finished about a half an hour ago. And Dave, satisfactory. We can't be disappointed about the performance at all, really, can we?
No, absolutely not. Basically, thought about it once or twice during the week, and then obviously a little bit more today. And that's all I wanted, was to be in the game and be competitive. And result wasn't overly important for me. It was that we were in it and we were competing, and we weren't a massive gulf. Obviously, Portugal were a bit disappointed tonight. There's no point in messing about. But as regards for Ireland, coulda, woulda, shoulda, really. The difference in 4 days, Alisson didn't get the protection, but Rui Patricio certainly did at the end of the game. And it was even less, to be honest, because I presume that's why they got the free kick. But overall, over 90 minutes, we were in the game, 49% possession against Portugal, which is unheard of. The high press was very impressive. Blah 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 blah, which we'll go into more detail as the rest of the show goes on. But A1. I just wanted to be in the game. I wanted to be competitive. But now we're after getting that and a result, which means it's go time for my cup final against Luxembourg.
I'm interested to see how that goes. Luxembourg beat Azerbaijan 3-1 away tonight, so they're still a decent side, aren't they? As in improving side, so it doesn't change anything that we have to do. Neil, when you look at the game, we had 12 shots. Portugal had 12 shots. Chances created 11, so probably. But our chances, well, there were half chances really. We're getting into their last third, but there seems to be a problem with the final ball.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was just thinking and kind of scribbling a few notes down when I was watching it, and there was a couple of times we got into, I'd say, more than promising positions in the final third, and we just don't seem to have that type of player that can pick a pass or pick the right pass. What was pleasing for me was that we had runners tonight. We had 3 runners in behind quite a lot of times. In particular, when we turn possession, we press high. We'd runners and willing runners in behind. Robinson was very, very good at getting in behind. But the right ball, just sometimes, it was almost like they didn't play with each other enough. They hadn't sussed each other, or they didn't know what kind of run, your friend was going to make almost. And there was a lot of times the ball went in behind. I remember Jeff Hendrick delivered one the first half, and it went in behind somebody. They couldn't quite get the turn on it. So the quality of pass, that final pass, if you look at Portugal, they're stacked with players that have that in the locker. And Ireland, maybe just, if you look at Cullen and Hendrick, they don't seem to have that pass that can unlock a defence. And it wasn't for the lack of will and runners. It was just that quality of ball, to split the centre half and full back maybe that we were lacking tonight. We created, but we could have created a whole lot more if we had that kind of player that could pick that one out.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that Ireland have always, over the last 8 years or so, it's about passing the ball. Ireland players aren't good enough at passing the ball. They can't do it. They're not technically good enough. Trapattoni told us, Martin O'Neill told us. We knew that wasn't the case, because at times under both reigns we did play it, whether it was the players jumping out of their box and just taking the game by the scruff of the neck, or maybe the shackles were let loose a little bit. I doubt that too much. Maybe I would say the shackles were let off a little bit under Martin O'Neill at the Euros, but we can definitely get on the ball, Dave, and pass the ball around. I'm going to add to that, though. This thing of getting on the ball and passing it from the goalkeeper 2 yards to the side in a goal kick, what a lot of nonsense. And that needs to be eradicated out of football, because it's just stupid. Getting the ball, passing it 2 yards, and he knocks it 30, 40 yards up the pitch.
Exactly. Inviting unnecessary pressure. And by the way, both teams did it tonight, and Portugal are the superstar side. And Portugal, in fairness, were worse at it, because every time then in the second half, second half, it start going towards, or was the first half, they start going towards Ronaldo, because they'd no other option, because they were getting high pressed, which was impressive. No, that was the first half, apologies. But so even Portugal struggled with it. I remember Arsenal were trying to do it when the first half come out, and then they come up against Liverpool, and you're like, what are you doing? But same with Ireland, and any team for that matter. No matter what the caliber, you're inviting a hell of a lot of unnecessary pressure, and you're inviting 3 or 4 players to defend from further up the field, which makes it even harder to get to the most important part of the field. And that's what played into our hands in the first half. When we were doing it with the high press, it was making that little bit more difficult. While back in the old days, we would just charge back into our own half, forward to be 10 yards inside our half, and then back another back, and quick get into the positions and then just fight like dogs and then blow up with 20 minutes to go. While we were defending from the front. And in fairness, your Duffys and Egans were still quite fresh at the end because they weren't as under pressure as they usually are. So that kind of pressing at the back it's nonsense, or playing out from the back, it's nonsense, and it didn't even work for Portugal either. So you're dead right. The only thing I will say about Ireland's passing, and to be honest, I'm robbing Ray Houghton's point, and I think there was an element of it in the first half. There was a bit of passing by numbers, 1 to 2 to 3. It was a bit predictable at times, and we were getting the squeeze on us. And I'm not saying we should do, but every now and then, yeah, I think he was right. Maybe a little ball into the corner and have the pacey of Robinsons and Ogbenes and whatever to do it, just to mix it up a little bit. Because, as I said, it was a bit too A to B. To see, you knew where each pass was going, and better teams and teams who were more up for it could have done some damage. But that's the only real criticism of the passing game I had. It was just a little bit predictable at times, especially when we started as deep as we did from the back.
Yeah. Paul, got rid of Paul. Paul here says Josh Cullen had another excellent game in centre midfield. Yeah. I'll just stick with you on this one, Dave. He's turning into a quality player. I seen a tweet from Anderlecht there the other day who were praising his consistency. They're calling him Mr. Consistent over there. He's undroppable at the moment for them. They see him as a top quality player, and he is only getting better.
100%, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but he's playing week in, week out. And that's one of the biggest reasons. Like, when you're in the engine room like that and there's bodies everywhere, and you think the game is fast, it's even quicker when you're in there because you've split seconds. So he's very comfortable because he's doing it every few days. He knows how much time he has just by instinct because he's playing every week. So the little things that he's doing might look simple, but it's because he's comfortable. While lads who haven't played for a month, and the last time they played was for Ireland, and that's why I'm going to be honest, your Howrans, like, I don't know whether he's playing at the moment, but the guys like your Hendricks and previous centre midfielders who have looked a lot weaker playing for Ireland, it's because they're not playing in the engine room week in, week out. And for Cullen, yes, he's a good player, but two, playing every week is massive, and he definitely looks cut above because of that, because he's well used to being in the midfield where there's bodies and the ball, you don't get that much time, and credit to him. And Anderlecht love him. Every other week there's a tweet going up or a video of him around the place, so they're loving him.
Yeah. Neil, Johnny O'Byrne says, did Portugal pay a lack of respect to us tonight? The lineup was odd. And I'm just going to have a look through the lineup, Neil, because when you look at the team, they've got Pepe, Semedo, Dallo, Piera, Luiz, Fernandes, Ronaldo, Silva. There's still a lot of strong players there. I do see what Johnny's saying. There's a few players who could have sat in there. Obviously, Diaz, Cancelo, maybe Neves, Jota. Do you think that they are looking at the next game rather than this one?
Yeah, and look, they might well. They've paid a little bit of a price tonight with Pepe getting sent off. That hasn't helped them. It seems like, I thought the commentator might have mentioned that Diaz could be carrying a knock. So they're obviously just, cotton wooling him until the weekend, which is smart.
They also I think they dropped all the yellow card players as well to make sure that they didn't get suspended. So a bit of both, I'll be honest. But there was still enough in that Portugal side. Sure, Brady came out and said it was a B team, and he was awful sour after the game. But I understand what Johnny's saying. But yeah, I think there was a bit of looking at the game on Sunday and a bit of game management with yellow cards.
And to be honest with you, I think they probably chose the right game to do it. Let's be honest, they still kept us at not an arm's length, but they kept us within reach. If you were going to make a gamble, it's an educated gamble. Do you know what I mean? So Diallo was the only one for me who just looked out of sorts. Regardless who else is on the field, they're still good players. Fair enough. Your Bernardos, your Brunos, and these guys will obviously give you more on the big games. But that to them, I don't think was a big game. I guess more the worry for us was that it wasn't a big game for us. Like, wouldn't that have been great in a packed house tonight if we had actually something to play for? So, we can only play what's in front of us at the end of the day. So whether they paid us a lack of respect, I think they did. But, it was a kind of an educated gamble that they probably felt they had to do at the time.
Yeah, I was asked today to predict the scoreline. I said 0-0. I didn't really 100% trust myself with 0-0 because you look at Ireland, they've conceded goals throughout this campaign. But just I think it was on the back of the positivity and I suppose the team has been impressing and gathering pace and improving all the time, that I thought that this is the type of game now where we can start playing football, build on what we had, we'll have a home crowd. And I suppose our last thing, Dave, and we'll go back onto this again, is in our final third. So how does that get resolved? Is that just, do you think, working on it in the training ground, or is it, Portugal just put players in them positions and there's pure quality there? Are we just waiting for that pure quality to come along?
Yeah, I think there will be an element of it. Like, without a doubt, what we're doing and how we're trying to play is to try and create more chances for obvious reasons to score goals. But I'm kind of glad we're doing it because we need to create plenty of chances, because I don't think we have that guy who's going to get the goal with that one chance that we might get in 90 minutes like we had before with Robbie Keane. So I think it's imperative that we play this way, that we can try and create as many chances as we can, because we don't have that ice cold killer up front who'll just bury it in every half chance he gets, because that's just the way it is. So I think it's a mixture of both, and then in the hope that he starts adding some goals to the bow, because he is very impressive when he's on. He's very big and strong and holds it up well, but that'll only get him so far. After a while, we'll need him to start adding some goals into the team. Otherwise, it's a bit of a waste putting him in as a striker if he's not going to start adding some goals to the tally as much as it's him, or put a partner beside him and he could be doing the donkey work to get the goals maybe. But it's like we could probably try and tweak it in a way that it's a 3-4-1-1 or something, maybe, to try and get somebody up with him. Or somebody might come good at some point and start being the goal getter that we need.
Yeah, you might find it's a 3-4-2-1 or 1-2.
Yeah,
the three at the back.
they go 3-4-3, and they mix it around a little bit, which is good though.
So I'm going to ask you, Dave, because I come on to you now, Neil, and you can answer this question as well. So, what about the team shape? What do you think of Ireland's team shape at the moment?
So far so good. Like, and one of the biggest reasons why is because it's a very well balanced side at the moment, in the sense that our back three are our back three. They're not going to let you down. But Stevens and Doherty are wing backs more so than full backs. So they can do a bit of both, and they're impressive going forward. Doherty probably more so than Stevens, but they can also do the bit of defensive work as needed. Cullen obviously is the anchor that's there, kind of doing what he's doing every week, and that's what you need, because there's no point in bringing players in to do something completely different than what they do every week. And Hendrick even is starting to look a bit more confident in the Ireland jersey again. And then you have Ogbene, who really stood out tonight. He was a bit quiet first 15, 20 minutes, and then slowly but surely got into the game, and he has legs, of which we need a bit of pace if we're going to play this kind of the two wide on either side of Robinson. McGrath was the only one that I would say he was quiet. That's it. I wouldn't be critical of him, but I just thought he was a bit quiet. Didn't really show anything that really grabbed me attention. But he's starting to play a steady system. He's starting to play a steady team. He's not having the hard luck stories. And this is what's happening when the ship is starting to settle and the seas are starting to calm down. Here's the proof in my eyes that it could and should work.
Okay, Neil, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think since we switched to the three at the back row, it's been very positive. I like, be it Seamus Coleman, be it Matt Doherty. Now you've obviously got Enda Stevens back on the left side, which I think is more of a natural kind of a left wing back. I know we tried McLean and stuff there, and Matt Doherty there for that matter. But there's a better balance with a left-footed left wing back. We've been more solid defensively. I'll echo what Dave said there. The more they play and the more they play together, I don't know about you, but watching the game tonight and watching them play the ball around the back line, I didn't feel as nervous as I did maybe 4 or 5 matches ago, when you felt at any minute one of them was going to make a balls of a pass. I think they're beginning to trust each other a little bit more. I think that's where Cullen, for me tonight, excelled, was that he was that kind of little triangle. He was the tip of the triangle of the two centre halves, or the centre half / wing back, that was linking the play, and he just seemed real comfortable. And as a result, while watching it, I quite enjoyed the flow of the game. We had a lovely move, I don't know if you remember, near the end, where we got caught at right back, And Seamus Coleman played a pass. It went into Cullen. It went out wide. The next thing you know, like Benny flies up the wing and played it in, and then the Stevens nearly finished. Like that was a chance and a move that we just wouldn't have created in yesteryear, be it Martin O'Neill, Trapattoni, or any of them for that matter. That was probably the most positive highlight for me, that we could transition the ball from a pressing position in our own back line, and within 5 passes we're up the field. So that to me was a better indication that it's the players are a bit more comfortable with it, and us watching it, it felt very natural. So I'm hoping we can push on with more of that now. And as you were saying there, maybe then it will traverse a little bit more by playing the same front three, by, you know, not tweaking it a hell of a lot, bringing in Ida. You know, I think Ida now is maybe second in the pecking order due to Robinson's kind of form. Bennett played very well tonight as well. So, you know, I think that's more positive than we were definitely even 3-4 matches ago. And probably because it was a better quality opposition that we were up against.
Just a second, Roy. Just a second, just to kind of hammer home something Neil said previously, and he's dead right as well. The more they play, the one or two little things, like he said, that Hendrick ball over the top, like when they play with each other more, they'll know their little likes and their little tells. Because there was once or twice where I think even Edith did something where it was almost like he was holding on to it as if he were holding out the 1-0 win. Right at the very end, he done some little lackadaisical flick and he went out wide. And I'm like, what are you doing? Get into the box. And it was like, you know, maybe he thought somebody else was there. So just like the more we play, I think the knowing each other and what we do will get a little bit sharper. Exactly what Neil said as well. And hopefully we'll see more clear-cut opportunities than what we had tonight. Roy's frozen.
Roy has frozen. I was saying he's concentrating on that screen.
All right, there he agrees with us that much, huh? Yeah, because no, he's back.
He's back.
I'm back.
Good man.
Yeah, I'm back. So tell me then, Dave, what does it say about Martin O'Neill and Trapattoni that one manager can come in and tell everyone, yes, we can play football instantly, nearly after their campaigns, so much of a different team, and then build a team?
What does it say? Out of the three, who's the most brave? It's Stephen Kenny, considering he's trying to play away. He's trying to play this way with a lesser team than what Trapattoni and O'Neill had, to be honest. When you look back at Trapattoni's side and the way they played, now, don't get me wrong, the way Trapattoni, it wasn't pretty to watch, but my God, did he get them playing within an inch of what he wanted. Like they really were a well-oiled machine. That's the one positive I will say about it. They had it to a T. But look what happened when they took the shackles off against France and Paris. You know, so it's in them, and it was always in them. And if they played a bit more like that, we could have had some really special times. But that's hindsight in the whole lot. But O'Neill was the one that annoyed me because he teased some of it with press conferences, and even Roy Keane teased it with press conferences going, we need to be more confident on the ball. They said some of this crap, but it never showed on the pitch. But they said some of it, and they were basically saying, we need it, but we don't have them. We don't have the players. So that's what they thought of them. And I'm not being smart. You hear about some of the stories about behind the scenes and him getting into arguments with them all. Like, they're just, I have a feeling, especially with Keane, some of these players are just beneath them and they're not good enough and probably didn't even want to be dealing with them. But that's the whole point. They tease some of that nonsense when in their press conference about being more confident in the ball, but they didn't give them enough chance to do it.
Yeah. Neil, again, Johnny puts in Trapp and O'Neill had better players at the disposal. That's a fair point. So again, is it because we've seen Trapp and O'Neill right at the end of their managerial career, and it's like when you're playing football when you're younger, you play without fear. The older you get, the more nervous you get. It must be the same in management.
Yeah, I think, look, there's only a couple of managers I think we've come across in our lifetime with Trapattoni's values. And I mean, I'd say Trapattoni had it drilled within an inch of their lives on where to give the ball away and where 100%ly not to give the ball away. So I think Trapattoni played through attrition, you know, the hopeful long 70, 80 yarder. He was delighted with that because it just took pressure off your back line. Real old school kind of tactics. But as Johnny's saying there, the biggest thing is Trapattoni had Robbie Keane playing up front, let's not forget. And Robbie Keane wasn't finished by any means at this stage. We went to it, was it Euros, or I think it was a Euros with Trapattoni, where Robbie Keane played up front. I think it was against Spain, wasn't it? And he didn't get a touch of the bloody ball for 60 minutes. And we used to kind of say, maybe bring him on for the last 20 minutes while we might be in with a shout, 0-0, 1-0 down, and bring on Robbie Keane where we'd actually give him the ball. But this whole thing with Robbie Keane chasing around like an Egypt up front in the zone, trying to win the headers that Shane Long was winning and stuff, it was absolute nonsense. So
he had a country, a good portion of the country, convinced that we had poor players, and he was getting the best out of them.
Yeah, but not just poor players, right? Poor players with no technical ability. I mean, that's the line he sold us. And I'm not trying to say I was sitting there going, oh, no, we can play football, but we knew we could play better football. Dave's after mentioning there the night in France where he unleashed the shackles. Keith Andrews had an unbelievable
game. The players
game
did it themselves night. On the bus,
right? The players, yeah. That showed everyone what we could do, but I only felt at the time, it was only when it mattered that we went out into these big games because we had to win. The other games, it was like we went out not to lose and nick a goal if we decided, or if we were lucky enough to get a set piece or something like that. But it only was ever a set piece we were going to score from. They were horrible nights. Like when you look back at it now, it really was the worst of times for Irish football because we were sold that this is what we were. I imagine at grassroots and beyond, like think when we grew up, you were looking at Ronnie Whelan, Ray Houghton, John Aldridge, they were your idols. And all of a sudden, who was your idol under Trapattoni? Guys that were told to hoof the ball 70, 80 meters in the air and hope for the best. It was absolutely horrendous. So in my opinion, it was the worst time for Irish football because grassroots, everyone suffers when your main team plays like that. I would hope that the 45,000 people tonight, of which would be a lot of kids, people watching at home, will go home this weekend and aspire to play better football on the pitch, better controlled 1-2s on the pitch, a better brand of football than loofing the ball forward. So, maybe the proof will be in the pudding in a couple of months' time that we'll be the better for these type of performances.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, let's just go back to the game. Just on Pepe's red card, Dave. Red card for you?
I had it in a no. Expecting this question. Pepe, don't care, delighted. Because he's like a lot of the Latin, French, Spanish, Portugal, they're brilliant at this. So to see it done on them, I don't care if it was a light or not. I'm just delighted. It was just great to see it turn them. Because to be honest, I have another note, like, was it Doherty and somebody were crap at diving because anytime we tried, it looked more obvious than, say, Portugal. Yeah. And it's like, right, if you're going to do it, lads, at least make it look convincing. But they were getting them a lot easier, I thought, than Ireland were. So it was great to see the roles being reversed for a change. So that's my take in it. Whether they're given as a booking. So it wasn't a straight red, so he shouldn't be shocked, regardless of the contact.
Neil, when you look at the referee, it's a real frustration for me when I look at referees because people always say these referees, they obviously didn't play the game. And I'm kind of going, well, that's a bit flippant. You don't know if they did. You don't know if they didn't. They probably played at a decent enough level. You don't know too much about them. But when you see a referee like tonight who buys every single thing that goes on around him, every little dive, every little trip and fall. Sometimes it really gets to you that you think, is there favoritism here? Is there a kind of, is there maybe not even a favoritism? Is he refereeing to a way that he believes that fouls, or there are fouls there that aren't fouls, but in every game he believes that they are a foul? Like, if someone's playing the game and you see that they, you get barged into the back and you're trying to protect yourself, surely the foul is you getting barged in the back. But they seem to give, if you stand up against them, it just, the amount of times the Portuguese players were rolling around the ground, I can't understand why referees don't book players, even when they get a free kick, for, they'll call it simulation, but it's just pure cheating. It really bothers me. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, do you know what it's? Do you know the way we're bred in Premier League football? And I think this year the Premier League have actively tried to allow, I'll say, a little bit more physicality, but they've definitely been telling players to get up when they're going for that soft foul where there's a hand on your shoulder or a small tug, and you think I'm going down. Where you would have got a free for it last year, 100%. And we're kind of applauding the referees for it not happening this year, and they're encouraging players to get up. Whereas tonight was a throwback to kind of yesteryear, or even last season, where every foul was a foul. And as you're saying, like you look at Joe Felix, there was one there where I think Matt Doherty was holding on to him, but then he rolled back and he wasn't fouled at that stage, but it was like the world collapsed under him. But it looked brilliant. Even in the replay, it actually looked like Matt Doherty kicked him or did something, and there was nothing there. It was a previous kind of instance. It was the first phase of the attack. So yeah, you see that, and there's no consistency with it. What I will say is, it was funny in my mind tonight when Coleman was up against Ronaldo. Ronaldo was appealing for a free kick every single time. Coleman kind of roughed him up, and he actually allowed Coleman to do it. Maybe because he's the captain, maybe because, I don't know, he doesn't like Ronaldo. He could be the only ref in the world that wouldn't. But he actually let Coleman rough him up a little and get stuck into him. And I really enjoyed that because Coleman was up for the battle. And he really, he hit the point home that you're the captain, you're playing in your home stadium. Get into their number one man. But the ref allowed him to do it. But on the rest of the field, nothing else was given. Absolutely nothing else. And, between him and the linesman, it's almost, I don't know, an over respect. I don't know what it is. It's something that it feels predetermined. Do you know when you watch, say, Manchester City versus Burnley, and the manager comes out and says, we didn't get any decisions? It feels like that, where Portugal are Portugal. Yeah, Portugal, they've all these stars, so I'm going to give them 90% of what they dive for, but I won't give them maybe 10% just to keep it on the level here. But very frustrating to watch. Very, very.
Yeah. Dave, we talked about, you said the cup final against Luxembourg. If they go out and they win, lose, or draw, how does that view the campaign for you on each one, I suppose?
A defeat would be devastating for me, just purely because, the hard work.
Does it affect Stephen Kenny getting a contract?
Potentially, because, well, it depends on. Now, in fairness, media have been fairly kind to him. Like, if it was somewhere else now, it'd be a different story. So, I suppose if he wins or draws, I think it'll be enough. I think a defeat, I'm not saying I don't think it potentially performance, that if it's one of these horrible or a bit of an all-action game and it's a 2 or 3-2 thriller, like, do you know what I mean, or something, I don't know. But for me, it's just, we owe them one. I think we're still a better side than them. I don't care the fact that they bet Azerbaijan 3-1. Azerbaijan had a man sent off as well, which made it a bit easier, I think. I was having a quick look at some of the goals on Sky Sports before I came on, but there was loads of sending off, so I might have got that mixed up. There was about 3 or 4 mad stuff going on. But, personally, losing to Luxembourg would be a big thing. I'm not going to sit here and say he has to go straight away, but it'd be bitterly disappointing after the hard work and the progress that's being made. I don't care where it is, whether it's a home or away. Like, we should be beating these no matter what. And the way we're playing is, in my opinion, is the reason why I want us to play this way, to beat these teams. Like, we were comfortable against Azerbaijan. I want to see something similar against Luxembourg, where we're the dominant force and we're imposing our game on it. So it's just a bit of a for me, a test of mettle. Have they got it in them now? This is a bit of an important game for me. Get into third, keep the right seeding, so our draw is favourable. And plus, we owed them one because it was a bad night in Dublin. So I'd like to think that's the way they'll play up on it,
Is it that important that it would decide whether he gets a contract or not?
Don't know. I don't know. 2 great friendlies in next month as well, similar levels, Slovakia and Georgia. Do you hold on and see? But to be honest, this one has a bit more because it's a competitive game to me, and that it's a bit of a tester. It's a bit of a test, but I'm not saying it's the be all and end all, because I think I've seen enough. But I would put a bit of pressure on them, because I think we should, because I think we have to, and say, listen, you've only lost 1 in 9 now, compared to what we were talking about only 3 or 4 months ago, not winning it all in 15. So we're showing a bit of good form. We're showing a bit of continuity. So I'm not saying I'm 100% expecting a win easy, but I really don't expect defeat, and I would personally be disappointed if we do.
Yeah, Neil, would you give him a contract?
I think, yeah, I think there's a better. I think Dave's right there. There's a feel good factor around the media aren't really getting stuck into him. I think that'll help him a lot tonight. Like you've 45,000 people going home, reasonably happy tonight. Most people behind the screens reasonably happy. But I would say I'd like a little bit of pressure on it. See, again, we're out of the qualification before this game starts, so it's almost like a free shot at Portugal tonight. Although we did play similarly as well when we thought we were in the running away against them. So this should feel a little bit like a grudge match against Luxembourg where we can go out and right a wrong and go out and kind of say, listen, we're in a way different place than we were back then. And I genuinely think we are. I fully expect us to go out and take the game to them. I think we'll play similar to tonight, but with against less quality opposition. And I would expect Ireland to get a result, but definitely a performance and hopefully a result will go a long way. So at the moment, I'd hold off, see how it goes. Provided we don't have a mare and lose 3 or 4-0, I think he'll be in the job on the next campaign. And then you just have to hope that the good work continues and that we can build this squad because, you know, we were out of reckoning now way too early in this group for my liking. We were dead and buried after 4 games, which is hugely disappointing. Like again, you look back to the big nights we've had at Lansdowne Road or the Aviva, where Germany, when we beat them 1-0, it was electric in there, and it looked a great atmosphere in there tonight, even though there was nothing to play for as such. So it's an opportunity missed, and I hope now that he's come through what I think is the worst of it. We're hitting form. I think he's come across a good formula. I think we have to see where this goes now at this stage. It'd be pointless to rip it up and go again on the basis that the next manager could come in with a different view, with a different style of football. I think we can all relate and enjoy the football. So I just hope it continues the way it's going.
Yeah, and for me, I think the style of football is encouraging. The style of football necessarily having to pass it out from our half and doing 3-4 passes and then getting in and doing a couple more. That doesn't really bother me. If it went a bit more direct and we got on the ball, it's how effective you are working off the style of play that you're using. So I think they're getting effective in his style of play. I would still like them not to mess around with goal kicks as much. I think it's a little bit of a nonsense. But I think it get cut out as well. So just like Portugal nearly got cut out badly in the second half, I think it was, we didn't capitalise on that. So yeah, I'd like to see, I suppose, things being fine-tuned. But I certainly think Stephen Kenny deserves a new contract. I think that the squad that he has built up, as in he had the courage to bring all those players in when results were going terribly bad for him. So I think that's he has to be commended for doing that. And there's a whole load of players who are coming through that you're kind of very interested now to see how they would adapt to a Stephen Kenny team. So to bring anyone else in now, I think would be a mistake.
Shame.
Dave, would you or who would you bring into this team? Who would you like to see into the team? And who would you like to see drop out of the team if there is anyone at all?
Yeah, that'd be difficult at the moment, to be honest. I don't think there's a hell of a lot. Back five now, I'd leave it as is for now. I know there's a bit of there's good competition. So if anyone else comes in, I wouldn't be overly worried, if you know what I mean. The likes of your Omabama Davies or even Nathan Collins, for that matter, who's getting a lot of praise and performing with Burnley. So for me, whoever kind of slots in, if one of them had to come out, I wouldn't be too bothered. That's a very settled back five there that I can see kind of surviving into the next campaign. I'd be happy enough with that. Cullen, as long as he's still playing the week in, week out, has to play over anyone else for that matter. So it's just maybe a consistent partner. If somebody's playing consistently and playing consistently well, I would probably say yes, maybe come in ahead of Hendrick, because who knows how his career is going to go now with Eddie Howe taking over at Newcastle. And obviously with January looming, all of a sudden his playing time could get seriously decreased. So that's where I'd be like, yeah, especially in the engine room, we need to have guys playing who are playing consistently in midfield, more so than any other position. I think Ida up front, I do enjoy and I like everything he's doing, apart from just trying to grab a goal or two now. So how we play is probably more important. Robinson was obviously flying. Benny, I think, done enough tonight. He was quite impressive and has legs, considering what we're doing and keeping out wide and stretching them out and getting maybe in behind from time to time. I wouldn't have an issue. At the moment, just purely off tonight, maybe McGrath. I just found him a bit quiet. I just found him a bit tame. I don't think he did anything wrong, but looking at that bench, there's no one at the moment really screaming he has to play. Probably the only one that's really jumping out for me maybe is Ida. So he might come in and Robinson might go out ahead of McGrath maybe and go with a similar starting 11 on but it's more so what's coming through. We've kind of a couple of nice promising players who always play the right way, and then as soon as they become real professionals, go and do the boring shite stuff. You're not Wes Hoolan, you're not allowed to play football. You're too small. But Kenny's not like that. He'll want them to still play the nice football. So we might have to wait another year or two before there's one or two promising players who look really decent. Obviously, Jason Knight and a few others who are still young and up and coming. It'd be interesting to see their careers progress. But we're very samey on the bench, a bit similar like we have been for years. So as I said, there's no one absolutely breaking down the door, but maybe Ida, I think, will come in and maybe Robertson will go out ahead of McGrath for the weekend. That'd be my prediction.
Neil, who can you see dropping out of the squad for the next campaign?
I hope nobody, Roy, is in. Of the 11 at least that started today. Now I know, Seamus Coleman, for example, is getting on. Like, I was nearly writing Seamus Coleman off a campaign ago, and I was thinking Matt Doherty was the future. Remember, he was flying with Wolves, and we were thinking this guy's going to come in. And I mean, Seamus Coleman, he shoved them words down your neck because he's absolutely playing out of his skin. So I hope we've more life in Seamus Coleman, because all of a sudden now with him, Duffy and Egan in particular, we just seem real relaxed. They're good ball players. They're comfortable on the ball. Like, you see the way Duffy plays for Brighton, but he's very, very important now to Ireland. So I hope that at least at the 11 that was there, that they'll hold. And as Dave is saying, we need now to unearth one or two that are going to come good within the next, sorry, not one or two, 4 or 5 that are going to come good over the next year or two and year or 4. So say the likes of Troy Parra, for example, where someone that we had, I think, high expectations. He was in at Spurs. And I think since the kind of Mourinho came and left, it's been a little bit underwhelming now that we don't really know if he's going to develop. You're talking about a different type of centre forward because he wasn't a Harry Kane that could hold the ball up, but he was a finisher. He was a goal scorer. So I'm hoping, be it through a loan move or wherever he gets over the next while, that someone like him, because we need goals, right, at the end of the day. I still think we're dangerous on set pieces and we're dangerous in corners and that type of thing. But let's, someone that will create, as Dave was saying there about Ida, I still think if you put him in around the 6-yard box, I don't know what kind of return you're going to get on him for strikes at goal, where you would hope that Parrott with his kind of profile would have a higher success rate. So maybe that's something we need, as we're saying there, the 3-4-1-1, where you can get someone in behind one of the strikers. Because other than that, I think we're playing the football, we're creating-ish. We're nearly there in the final part. If I was kind of to have a Santa wish list, I'd be saying someone in place of Jeff Hendrick that has that 40-yard through ball, that has that bit of vision, that has that, creativity, that they just put the right ball in at the right time. There's plenty of them in the Premier League. Unfortunately, none of them are Irish. So it's been a while since Wes Hoolan played. He'd be a gem in a side like that right now, So wherever the next Wes Hoolan is, I hope he's 18, 19 and he's ready to break into the senior team. So we're crying out for a guy like that, a creative midfielder that can do the donkey work, but that can also have a little bit of class to him. So, if he's out there, I'm sure Stephen Kenny is scouring, England, grannies, granddads, the whole lot to try get him. So that to me would be more key at the moment, a playmaking centre midfielder.
Yep. When you look at the squad, Dave, and you look at the amount of players that have come through League of Ireland now, jumping into either Scotland or England, that has increased a lot over time. Yes, they might not all be in the Premier League, but there's a lot of players making the leap to proper professional football. I don't mean that in a way of slagging off the League of Ireland in any way. What I mean is that they're going into maybe championship clubs and earning a decent wage and, thorough professionals where for a while there, we were getting good players coming through in the League of Ireland. They'd go across and then nothing would happen and they drift out of teams. That's starting to change now. You can see that starting to change, can't you?
Absolutely. It's obviously the structure over here is a little bit better, and they're obviously getting a better kind of coaching, as you can see with the likes of your Duffs and all floating around and a few others. But they seem to have a nice setup in the League of Ireland, and then obviously in the very top schoolboy clubs, and they're very well drilled and probably getting just as much, if not better, coaching than what they would be over there, and they're getting a bit more attention. While if you go away to foreign clubs, they'll probably still look after their locals a little bit more than what they would with the Irish or whoever else that comes down. There is still that element. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons why. But not only that, the way we're playing as well over here is a little bit more technical now and not as kind of old school, rough and tumble battle. Everyone just battles, and a lot of it in the air. Anyone who consistently watches League of Ireland, there's going to be a stinker on, but tell me a Premier League game, every Premier League game that's live is brilliant. But if you really watch them consistently, they're all playing a decent brand of football, and there's some clever players here. So the guys that are going are the best at the best, and they have a bit about them. And Tierney looks like to be the one that's next with Bowes, going over to Scotland apparently, and he's a smashing player. And obviously you've got Danny Mandrew, who's here, is a smashing player, but he can play amongst a few others. So that's one of the reasons why when they go over now and they're sticking around and they're playing and becoming more effective, is because they are a bit more technically sound than probably what they would have been before they went over in previous years.
There's more of a professional setup here now than there ever has been. So when they go across that, and even looking at that, when I look at it from a schoolboy point of view, there's a lot more players now who are doing more individual work than they've ever done before. So they'll do their team training, but then they'll pop out 2-3 times a week and they'll be getting their hours up by doing one-on-one training or whatever. So I think people are thinking a lot more professional now these days. A grill has no name. Let's go, Brandon.
Go, Brandon.
Okay. Explain that one to me. I'm losing out on that one there. Neil, Rude Doctor, he's left the job after 8 years.
Yeah.
Success, not a success. What did you make of his term?
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, so Rude Doctor, he stepped away from the FAI kind of technical expert role, which was to kind of reinvent grassroots in Ireland, put down new rules, basically teach us how to play the Dutch way, so to speak. So it's been 8 years now, which actually seems to have flown, but they came in with new rules for underage kids for playing 5-a-side, 7-a-side, 9-a-side, progressing, playing out from the back, retreat lines, all that good stuff. So for anyone that was involved in schoolboy football years ago, you used to go straight into 11-a-side. You were only tiny standing on the pitch. You didn't get a touch of the ball. It was ridiculous. So that type of thing, I do think is a success, Ryan, so far as I think it's developed kids the right way. I think the thinking
I'm not sure
behind
that
it was
was
correct.
his though, Neil, was it?
Yeah, but it was rolled out at around the same time.
Wasn't it someone, I can't remember the name, the other fella who was there before him, but he put the plan together, and I think Rude Doctor just adapted it then to what his thing was. He kind of brought in then the League of Ireland setup, wasn't it?
Yeah, so the League of Ireland, I mean, let's be honest, it took the kind of power away from the kind of 6 or 7 Dublin clubs and gave it out to the League of Ireland clubs, who were supposed to be better equipped to deal with these kids. Now, the reason why it's paying off, in my opinion, is because, like you're saying there, if you look at League of Ireland, there's a hell of a lot more, young Irish kids up and coming in every squad now in League of Ireland, rather than if you go back a decade, 12 years ago, there was that kind of same bunch. I don't want to call them mercenaries, but lads that were over here for money. They went from Shelbourne to Pats to Rovers. It was the same kind of guys, rinse, repeat, but they were never going to enhance or help the league, but they were the best players in the league at the time. So now we have this new kind of year-on-year crop of 17s, 19s that are coming through from the FAI. For the League of Ireland underage setup from 15s, 17s, 19s. And instead of these kids having nowhere to go if they didn't make it to England, they can now progress into the 17s, into the 19s. And yourself, there's a lot of success stories in Irish football of kids that didn't make it when they were 19, I'm pretty sure Seamus Coleman was one of them. Shane Long was another. They were 24, 25 when they moved over quite late. They started in Division 1 or the Championship, and all of a sudden became really, really good players over the years. So hopefully we'll see more of that as the years go on, because definitely the relationship of players staying in football, not going to England, not making it, coming back and not continuing to play, hopefully that will be a thing of the past, and these kids will be getting looked after a little bit better. So whether or not it's a success, I don't know, but I definitely think it bore fruit insofar as if you look at all the FAI League of Ireland sides now, they're full of young Irish kids hopeful to make it, rather than the way it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Dave, that setup is, for me, I think is a great setup. The League of Ireland setup. Again, it gives it that professional look. These players are brought through. It's make or break. There's going to be a lot of disappointed kids, but that's the nature of it. You look at I suppose the local teams who bring these kids up from 6-7 years of age. They have always sort of developed the players throughout the years. They're still doing that now. These League of Ireland teams are playing catch up in this regard compared to your local teams around the country. There still is room for the FAI to improve at the youngest of ages, because this is where the technical ability comes in to play, learning how to be comfortable. But we talk about Joe Felix. There was a big cross ball that went across from one side to the other to Joe Felix today. He took it down in one touch and turned and went at the player in one go. And that's the kind of thing that, gives you an impetus in a game, rather than taking it down, maybe it bouncing backwards and the impetus is gone from an attack. Those kind of things are developed at the younger age, not when they get to League of Ireland. So is there something more that the FAI can do? Can they help out the local clubs in any way, do you feel?
100%. I don't know, because
could the League of Ireland clubs maybe help out the local clubs more?
Maybe, without a doubt. But then again, everyone and their mother pays the few quid and gets their little certificate, and then they're an expert. It could be down to the coaching and emphasizing to them like a little bit extra on what they do in their badges and whatever, and their kickstarts to kind of tell them what to do and put the emphasis on what we want them to be doing. Like, not everything is in them books. There's a bit of know-how, and I think the easy option would be say it should be more up to the FAI. I think it should be a philosophy for all clubs and all top clubs, even at that level. Like, even if there's League of Ireland clubs or top schoolboy clubs, they have directors of football now, and they should be kind of promoting that. Like, because I don't think it's rocket science, and I don't think it's something that needs to be overly technical in that sense of what you want your kids to be doing. And I think that's where the responsibility needs to be. I think it needs to be at all levels and not just the FAI. I think that's the easy option to tell them. But if you've got like all these decent clubs, even here at home in our town, like there's directors of football and there's academy directors, and there should be impetus on them, and maybe there should be potentially courses for them, that what they should be doing with the kids, and not just whatever they think they're doing now by what they see in diagrams. Here's what we want you to be doing, and put a bit of responsibility on everyone, and not just the very top brass, and just say, it's, well, what are you doing for us? Well, what are you doing yourself on the pitch every week? So a bit of everything, a bit of a communal group, a kind of effort for all, I think would be the ultimate answer for me.
Okay. Right, we'll leave. A Grill Has No Name has decided to give us a little bit of info here, so I'm happy out. It says, I say Ireland should invade Scotland and Wales. A bit of excitement. Why not spice it up? We can't both finish on that. Neil, thanks very much. Dave, thanks very much. And the big cup final will be on in only a matter of days, and we'll discuss that and everything about it very soon. Dave, Neil, thanks very much.